You think you drink to relax after work. But what if I told you that that nut that you feel in your stomach, the one that drives you to pour that first drink, is not stress, it's anxiety. After 20 years of failed attempts, I discovered that 90% of the times I drank, it wasn't because I liked alcohol, but it was about escaping anxiety that I didn't even know I had. Stay tuned as I will answer your most burning questions on how I figured all of this out and how I was able to eventually stop drinking and stay sober for good. Hi, I'm Alex Rivera, the Sober Dad. I'm here to help you reclaim your life and become the man that you know you can be. Today's video is a little bit different. Instead of me talking at you, I'm flipping the script and I am taking on your questions that you've been asking me all along in my videos and my DMs and emails. The hard questions, the personal questions, the ones that keep you up at 3 a.m. wondering if there is hope for your drinking problem. I will provide you with the raw, unfiltered truth on how it is to deal with anxiety with and without a bottle. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get real on the stuff that nobody else wants to talk about. So let's get going. So this is the first question, and this question is from Sam. Sam asks me, Alex, I tell my wife every night that I'm just drinking because I'm stressed at work. When did you first realize your drinking wasn't really about relaxation, but about something deeper like anxiety? What was that moment for you? Okay, Sam, so thanks for the question because I can totally relate to that. See, I used to drink almost every night. And in the beginning, it was because I thought it helped me to just unwind and change into a more relaxed mode away from all the pressure from work and whatnot. But what happened is that over time, I realized that I was just not drinking just one or two, but I was actually drinking to get drunk. I would buy more and more alcohol, and I started planning my evenings around the time that I drank. I was drinking because I was feeling this pressure, this heaviness in my chest too, day in and day out. And alcohol seemed to be the only thing that took it away. The aha moment came when I realized that I drank not just to feel less stress from work, because I would drink even when I was not stressed. I would drink at night, and sometimes I would drink even in the mornings. And all of this drinking seemed a little bit crazy. As a matter of fact, I thought I had lost my mind because towards the end of my drinking career, I started drinking at times and moments where it made no sense for me to be drinking, where I had to be somewhere else, when I had to finish some important work, when I was supposed to be picking somebody or doing something that I knew was good for me. What was going on? I was doing crazier and crazier things, like jumping out of a window from my house in order to sneak out and buy alcohol, hiding bottles all over so my wife couldn't find them. And I thought that I was going to drive into a pole and hurt myself and leave my kids without a father and my wife without a husband. All along knowing that this was just crazy behavior and I really could not understand. So I contacted an expert in substance abuse and sat down with him to figure out that the source of my drinking was not stress, but fear. Fear has been a constant throughout my life. Fear that when I have a problem, it's just gonna blow up on my face and things are gonna be really bad for me and my family. This fear is behind these anxious thoughts that accompanied me throughout the day in and day out. I thought I needed ways to relax, but what I really needed was a way to calm those fears. So little by little, and with the help of this professional, I started to unravel the thoughts behind my anxiety that allowed me to understand where all of this stuff was coming from. And the key insight I want to share with you is that at the bottom of every anxious feeling, there is a thought. And that thought is usually a distorted thought, an unrealistic thought, a catastrophic thought that doesn't hold true under scrutiny. So, for example, every time I have a problem at work, I thought that the worst would happen and that I was not going to be able to solve this problem. I felt like it was not within my capabilities to solve some of these problems. But the evidence pointed in a different direction. Every time I had a problem, I had been able to solve this problem, figure out a way forward. So this fear was completely unwarranted. And I had to do a little bit more digging to figure out why was I so insecure about my capabilities and my ability to solve my problems. Does that resonate with you? Leave me a comment and let me know if you had a similar experience. Okay, the next question is from Rob. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, thinking about work presentation or some of the financial problems that I have. Did you experience physical anxiety symptoms like this? How did alcohol seem to help in the moment, and what was really happening? Thank you for the question, Rob. So I experience anxiety different ways. Predominantly, I feel it in my body. I feel this heaviness in my chest, but I also feel like constant headaches when I feel very anxious. Also in my hands, sweatiness and sweaty palms when I feel very anxious. I might lose my appetite, or I might feel like I'm very weak and I don't want to do much. But mostly, anxiety gives me a sense of dread that follows me like a cloud behind me that really hinders my ability to enjoy a lot of the things in daily life. Now, looking back at it, now I can tell you that it is anxiety that I was experiencing, but incredibly so. At the time, I really did not know what was happening, because the nature of a distorted thought is that you really believe it. I really thought that the worst thing would happen. I really thought that I was incompetent and incapable of solving my problems. So in my mind, feeling like this was just completely normal. So the sense of dread and anxiety seems completely justified. And I thought that that was just the way things were, and there was absolutely nothing else I could do. And drinking offered me a respite, because when I drank, those feelings of fear and dread would evaporate. They would just simply go away for a little while. And that was the only way I had to cope with this anxiety. And little did I know that the more I drank and the more trouble I created for myself, the more anxiety I felt. So it became this vicious cycle of drinking to try to calm down anxiety, just to end up feeling even more anxious and drinking more. That's why we fall into these spirals that seem so difficult to break, because we use alcohol to stop the very thing that makes us drink even more. Does that make sense? The next question is from Jack. Alex, you mentioned that you flunked the 5th grade, and this still affected you as an adult at work. Can you share more about how that played out for you professionally? Yeah, sure, Jack. So, as some of you know, I did really bad in the 5th grade because I didn't get along with the teacher. I was a very restless kid. And what happened is that the teacher would write these reports for me to take home, showing that I was not doing my homework and I wasn't doing very well. So I knew that my mom really did not like when teachers wrote these reports. So what did I do? I learned to sign her signature, and I would sign this report. So what happened is that she never got any of these reports that the teacher sent throughout the years. And what happened at the end of the year is that I had to be held back. The problem here was that I was fearful throughout the year, and that's why I wasn't showing these reports to my mom, because I was scared of the consequences, and I was really afraid of disappointing her, because I knew that she really valued competence and me doing great at school, and I really felt like if I did not, I was failing, and that I was a failure, and that there was something wrong with me. So what happened then is that the end of the year came, and sure thing, My mom was called into the principal's office, had a meeting with the teacher where they told her everything that was going on, and she was shocked. She really did not realize all the things that I had been going through and how bad I had been doing in school. And oh boy, I still remember the disappointment, the scolding that I got, but it was not so much the scolding, but as this fear that I had that I was not good enough in the eyes of my mom really came to pass. And this, my friends, has haunted me all my life, because I still feel in the professional arena that when faced with difficulty, a difficult project or an unexpected problem, that I am not going to be able to solve it. And it's gonna blow on my face and I'm going to flunk. That means I'm gonna fail and get fired. So you can imagine that all of the problems that we all have at work induce great anxiety on me. Anxiety that, quite frankly, I did not know I was experiencing. But when I realized that alcohol could help me to calm these anxious thoughts, I was off to the races, because it really helped me to quiet that voice, to quiet that fear, to calm that pressure inside my chest. And for a very long time, I thought I could deal with this. And I thought that the consequences of drinking were manageable. So I kept doing it, even though I knew it was increasingly causing more and more problems in my life, at work, with my relationships, and with my own self-image. So the next question is from Jonathan, and he says, my wife says I am different when I drink, more argumentative and defensive, but I feel like alcohol helps me handle stress better. So, I mean, this is a very common thing that married men experience, right? And that is entering into arguments and conflict with our significant others, our spouses. Because alcohol changes our personality, lowers our inhibitions, and makes us act in ways that we would normally not act when we're drinking. And because our wives are the closest relationship most of us have, we feel more comfortable just unleashing on them, regrettably. So they get the brunt of all of this misbehavior and all of these things that we say when we're drinking that we later regret. Because she might start telling us that we're drinking too much and that we should not drink so much. And we get very angry at this. And why shouldn't we? Alcohol is helping us to calm down these feelings. Alcohol is helping us to get a respite from all of this anxiety. And now your wife is telling you that you should not drink. Oh, that doesn't sound good, right? So we argue with them and we fight back and we try to defend our behavior. And one of the most common arguments we use is that you just don't understand how much stress I'm feeling and alcohol helps me to deal with. For us who have gotten into trouble because of drinking too much, the people around us can see the problem much earlier than we can. And it's not that we can't see the problem, we just don't want to admit it. We just don't want alcohol to be a problem, because alcohol is helping us to not feel these very strong emotions. And it's not just anxiety, right? It could be sadness, it could be anger, which I think is just another form of anxiety. So alcohol is a tool that helps us manage and deal with these strong emotions that we otherwise don't know how to. So we fight and we argue with the people who love us and who care about us, who tell us that, hey, you're drinking too much, you're having a drinking problem. And we say, what do you know? You don't understand what I'm going through. And if you were going through the same things I'm going through, you would drink too. And nobody likes to be yelled at. So your wife might go quiet for a while, but trust you me, she is not happy and she knows what's going on. Is this making sense? Leave me a note in the comments, all right? Your ideas and your thoughts might help somebody else who's going through the same situation. Next question is from Albert. Okay, Albert, you say, I function pretty well at work most days, so I tell myself drinking isn't that bad, but I know I'm not performing at my best. How did workplace anxiety specifically drive your drinking, and what signs did you miss or ignore? Okay, thank you, Albert, because this goes to the core of this idea of being a functioning person in the face of excessive drinking. You know, some people call it, being a functional alcoholic. I personally believe that that is a dangerous myth, that there is not such a thing as a functional alcoholic, because even if you are able to work, even if you're able to complete the tasks while are under the influence or while drinking heavily at night, that doesn't mean that you're really functioning, because what that means is that you're probably capable of a lot more than what you give yourself credit, and you're just functioning at some suboptimal level. So if you're getting away with all of this drinking and still doing the job that you were hired for, that doesn't mean that you are being the best person that you can be at work and that you're working at your full potential. Imagine if you did. I mean, if you're able to hold a job, even if it's like a high stress job and high responsibility job while drinking, only imagine how much better you could do if you were not drinking. This question is from Janik. The idea of feeling my anxiety without alcohol terrifies me, right? We're just talking about that. What was it actually like for you in early sobriety when you had to face that anxiety without your usual escape? Yeah, thank you, Janik, for that. Well, it was not easy, okay? It was really hard. So I'm just not going to sugarcoat this. Early sobriety is very, very hard. The reason why most of us relapse time and time again is because we didn't really have a plan. We just decided, okay, I'm done. I don't want any more of this trouble and chaos. I'm just going to stop drinking and I'm going to white knuckle it as much as I can. I'm going to use my willpower and I'm not going to drink. Well, guess what? I don't know about you, but that never worked for me for over 20 years that I tried to do that. That never worked for me. And it might work for a little bit, a few days, a few weeks, who knows, maybe a few months. But eventually, it doesn't work because life conspires against you and you have all of these emotions that are pent up that you really have not been able to process or deal with. And eventually, you're gonna fall because you're gonna do what you know helps you to feel better, to feel relief, and that is picking up the bottle and drinking. So you have to have a plan. You need to have a go-to activity when you feel like you want to drink. You have to keep yourself busy. You have to keep your mind engaged in activities that you enjoy, activities that are absorbing, that take your thoughts away from the rumination and the thinking about drinking. You have to have somebody that you can talk to, a support system, or you have to have a group or a coach or a therapist that can help you to process some of these emotions and these thoughts. And you have to establish new routines because all of the way you have organized your life around alcohol conspires against you staying stopped. When you have a routine, that could be a routine for drinking at 6 p.m. every day, it's very hard to break. We are creatures of routines, and routines and habits kick willpower any day of the week. The good news is that routines and habits can work on your favor too, because once you establish a new sober routine, this will immensely help you to stay stopped. But it takes a while, right? It takes time. It takes days and weeks and months to establish a new routine. And in that time, you just have to manage these emotions the best way you can. When you settle into a new routine, you won't feel the strong pull of alcohol. Your cravings will go down, and you'll find out that doing other different things that don't involve alcohol can actually be very rewarding, and that can help you to calm down your anxiety and your other strong emotions. And the final question is from Simon. Simon asks, what is one practical technique that I can use tonight when I feel that anxiety rising and then I might feel a craving to drink? Simon, thanks for the question. I'm glad you want to stop, but I know that these urges and cravings are very hard to deal with. So there are two things that I would recommend you do tonight, okay? The first one is to do a delay tactic. When you get an urge to drink, tell yourself, I'm gonna wait 15 minutes, half an hour, and I'm gonna do something else. Maybe you can do a task that you have to do, or an errand, or something that you know you have to finish, and do it for the next 15-30 minutes. And tell yourself, if I feel like drinking after 30 minutes, then I'll drink, but right now I'm just gonna busy myself with something else. And the reason why this technique works is because most cravings don't last forever. They are like waves that come and then they crest and fall and then they go away. Now, the craving might come back later, but in the meantime, you were able to fend it off. So next time you have a craving, you do the same thing and you say, okay, I'm gonna wait 15-30 minutes, I'm gonna do something else, and if I still feel like drinking, then I'll drink then. And you take it one craving wave at a time. And it has worked for me time and time again. The second technique that I think can be very useful is playing the tape. And playing the tape is very straightforward. You just have to close your eyes and imagine what happens, what will happen tomorrow. How is your day gonna look tomorrow if you drink tonight? And you can do this because you've seen this movie before. You've gone through these many times. So you can envision and imagine the consequences and how things are gonna be. Are you gonna wake up with a horrible headache? Are you gonna be late to work? Are you gonna feel terrible and not want to do anything? And try to visualize this as perfectly as you can. And this technique of playing the tape might just dissuade you from drinking tonight because you know how this ends and you might not want to repeat this again. On the other hand, you can play another tape, which is you can think about how your day will be tomorrow if you don't drink, right? You will show up, you will go to work, you will have energy, you will take your kids to work, you will be able to do all of the things that you're planning to do, but only if you don't drink. So it actually helps you to play both sides of this tape and compare. Do you want to wake up feeling like crap and failing and doing all of these things that you later regret? Or you want to be able to show up and do the things that you want to do and you know they're good for your life? So playing this tape technique can be very useful, and that is something you can do today, tonight. The fight is worth it because on the other side is a better version of yourself, is the man and the person you really want to be, and that can offer the best of himself to the rest of the world, to your family, and to the people that you really care about. And if things between you and your wife have been strained because of all the drinking and the arguments, check out this video right here I made that helps you to deal and navigate and will show you how I was able to patch things with my wife once I decided that I was not going to drink anymore. I've also put together a free resource that you can download in the description below. And this is what I call the reset method, which is a very comprehensive guide on how to deal with strong emotions step by step so they don't get the best of you and you don't end up drinking over and over again and relapsing. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. So click the link in the description and get your copy. It's completely free. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please share it with anybody who you think might benefit from this, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the content that I have here for you. This is Alex Rivera, the Sober Dad. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.